Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open the cyber attackers' playbook. We're going to look at what makes them tick, the methods they use, and the tools that have turned digital crime into a massive global business. So let's just kick things off with a question that might surprise you. What does it actually cost to get into the cybercrime game? You're probably picturing some huge budget, years of elite training, but the reality? It's a lot closer to home than you think. And the answer is, well, it's pretty shocking. You can buy off-the-shelf ransomware as a service for as little as $225. I mean, for the price of a nice dinner out, anyone can get their hands on a tool designed to hold someone's entire digital life hostage. It's insane. Or get this, you could just rent a service to launch a full-blown DDoS attack that's a distributed denial of service attack and knock a website completely offline for just $60 an hour. The barrier to entry for causing some serious digital chaos, it has literally never been lower. And this really gets to the heart of the matter, the motivation, the why. You know, this isn't about teenage hackers in basements causing trouble anymore. We have to be clear about this. Modern cybercrime is a highly organized, professional business. Okay, so let's break this down. The motivations really boil down to four main things. First, it's just so easy to do. The tools are cheap, you don't need to be a genius. Then, of course, there's the incredible value of the data they're after. Just as important is the value of getting access to trusted systems. And yeah, sometimes it's personal, driven by activism, politics, or just old-fashioned revenge. And when we talk about the value of that stolen data, it is just staggering. On the dark web, a complete credit card data package, we're talking everything you need to clone a card, can go for up to $120. Now, multiply that by thousands of accounts, and you can start to see the massive economic engine that's driving all of this. So, okay, the motivation is clear. But how does an attacker actually start planning? Well, here's the irony. They often think exactly like a security professional. They use a structured process called threat modeling to find the absolute weakest link in the chain. It's honestly just like a burglar casing a joint before a heist. They need to understand the building's layout, figure out where the valuables are stashed, and know what security systems they're up against before they even think about making a move. It's all about strategy. And there are a few big established frameworks for doing this, each with a slightly different flavor. You've got PASTA, which is all about the business risk. Then there's Octave, which focuses on protecting an organization's most critical assets. And finally, Stride, which is what developers use to build security into software from the ground up. Now, Stride is super powerful because it basically gives developers a hacker's checklist. Each letter stands for a different kind of threat: spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privilege. It's a really systematic way to think like the bad guys before you've even written a single line of code. All right, so we've got the motivation and the planning down. Now let's get to the main event, the execution. You see, an attack isn't just one single thing. It's a process, a series of steps, often called the attack lifecycle. I want you to think of it like a 6-step digital heist. It all starts with reconnaissance. That's the information gathering. Then the attacker gets their weapon ready and delivers it. After that, it's all about exploiting a weakness, taking control, getting what they came for, and finally, making sure they can stay in the system without anyone knowing. And that first stage, reconnaissance, is absolutely the most critical. This is where attackers are gathering all their intel. They can do it passively, kind of like a spy in the shadows, just scraping public websites and social media. Or they can do it actively, by rattling the doorknobs, directly probing the target's defenses with things like network scans to see what's unlocked. So once they've found a way in, it's time to talk about the tools. Let's open up the attacker's toolbox and look at the actual digital weapons they use to break in and take control. First things first, you have to know the big umbrella term for all this nasty stuff: malware. It's short for malicious software, and it's basically the catch-all category for every type of digital weapon we're about to talk about. Okay, so a classic virus is a lot like a biological one. It needs a host, some other program, to latch onto, and crucially, it needs a person, a human, to click on it or run it to spread. It can't go anywhere on its own. Worms, on the other hand, well, worms are a whole different beast. And honestly, they're way scarier because they're completely self-sufficient. They're like these digital parasites that just crawl through networks all by themselves, actively hunting for vulnerable systems to infect. No human help needed. And then, of course, you've got the Trojan horse.
And yep, it's exactly what it sounds like from the ancient Greek myth. It tricks you into letting it pass your defenses by pretending to be something you actually want, like a free game or a cool app. But once it's inside, it unleashes its real malicious purpose. And believe me, these threats are not just theoretical. History is absolutely littered with malware that caused massive real-world damage. You had the Melissa virus back in '99, the infamous I Love You worm that caused billions in damages, and the SQL slammer worm in 2003 that spread across the entire globe in just minutes. These things can have a profound impact. Now, beyond just infecting a single computer, attackers also go after the network itself. They can just flood it with traffic in a denial of service attack, or sniff the data as it's flying by, or even put themselves right in the middle of a private conversation to eavesdrop or change what's being said. And all of this leads us to the final, and let's be honest, often the most vulnerable part of any security system, the human element. The person sitting right there at the keyboard. I mean, think about it. Why spend months and months trying to crack a super complex password when you can just trick someone into giving it to you? That is the core, brilliant, and terrifying idea behind social engineering. It's all about exploiting our natural trust, our fear, our curiosity to bypass all the technology completely. And you can see here all the different channels attackers use to trick us. You've got phishing through email, vishing over the phone, and smishing through text messages. They even have a name for highly targeted attacks on executives, the big fish. They call it whaling. So, really, the ultimate takeaway is this. Technology can build these incredible walls and unbelievably complex locks, but social engineering is the art of just walking up and convincing you to hand over the key. Which leaves all of us with a pretty critical question to think about. Now that you've seen the playbook, where are your keys most vulnerable?